What if this was actually a train? Well, today I travelled for hours across Sri Lanka's countryside with the sole mission of finding out. Introducing the Ashok Leyland Railbus, the region's quirky answer to running rural railways. I'll be riding this rickety machine on a 2-hour journey, which turns out to be one of the strangest rides I've ever had. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here at Maho Junction in Sri Lanka and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'll be travelling on the Railbus service down to Polgahawela. It's certainly going to be an interesting journey, so let's go. Welcome to the town of Mahor in northwestern Sri Lanka. Let's waste no time at all in entering the rather basic station, which features 3 identical signs in case you've already forgotten where you are. Beyond this, there's a small garden that features a Buddhist shrine. Such installations are commonplace in Sri Lankan railway stations, with the country's main religion being Buddhism. Mahor Junction is a key stop on Sri Lanka's railway, with 3 routes meeting here. Firstly is the line to Polgahawela and Colombo, Sri Lanka's largest city. Next is the line to destinations along the northern coast, such as Jaffna and Kankasantire. Finally, the route to the east serves Punani, as well as Vatikaloa and Trincomalee. Being such an important hub, the station is reasonably well equipped, with lots of seating available. You'll also find a small cafe selling snacks and a much appreciated cold beverage. All departures from Mahor Junction are prominently displayed on the wall. For some reason, the Railbus to Polgahawela was blacked out, so I joined the queue for the manned ticket office. Tickets for local trains in Sri Lanka cannot be booked in advance, so this is the only way to buy them. There seemed to be some sort of problem with my ticket, though it turned out that they didn't have any tickets to Polgahawela left, so a handwritten adjustment was made. Most services in Sri Lanka are operated by traditional loco-hauled trains, imported from a plethora of countries, including various in Europe. These are, of course, fairly expensive to run, with large diesel-guzzling engines and complex maintenance regimes. Recent years have seen the introduction of modern units from China and India that are cheaper to operate. However, this isn't of much use for the lesser used routes. And that's where the Railbus comes in. As soon as I discovered this quirky, train, I just knew I had to try and ride one. I wasn't sure these Railbuses were still in use, but after hours of research, I found the very last service still runs daily from Maho Junction. And sure enough, here comes my ride from the sidings. Wait, no, sorry, that's an actual bus. Here is my Ashok Leyland Railbus. As you can see, it's quite literally made from 2 old buses stuck together, with some new wheels to fit the rails. But before we get on this bizarre contraption, let's take a look into the history of it. This design is based on an Ashok Leyland bus, like the one shown here. In 2009, the Indian Ministry of Transport offered 10 of these vehicles to Sri Lankan railways, alongside funds to convert them for use on rails. Once finished, they were used on a variety of routes across the country, stopping at every shack near the track. Over the years, they have slowly been removed from service, as and when they break down beyond economic repair. But anyway, let's get on board. Seat reservations are not available for this service, just like a normal local bus, so just take any available seat. Accessibility isn't great, with multiple steps to assist boarding at stations where there is no platform. This window seat here looks fine for today's trip. Today's route sees us heading south from Mahor, through the incredible tropical landscapes of central Sri Lanka. Along the way, we'll be stopping at 30 stations, many of which serve tiny villages. The journey is scheduled to take 2 hours and 21 minutes to cover 64 kilometres, or about 40 miles. Departure from Mahor Junction is on time, as we drive away at 13:45 bound for Polgahawela. Acceleration on the Railbus is speedy, which makes sense given how it's controlled like a bus, though we'll have a look at the driver's cabs soon. First, a look around the passenger area. We'll start with the seating, which is pretty basic if I'm honest. It comes in a 2+2 bench layout, though these seats are pretty well padded. Legroom is certainly not the best, but I've definitely had worse on some long distance trains. There was also some sort of cable beneath the seat. Above your seat there's a small luggage rack, as well as grab handles, a clear sign of this vehicle's original purpose. Lastly, you can find large sliding windows allowing for ventilation, or if you're like me, you can use them to fully enjoy the incredible scenery. I mentioned earlier that we'll be stopping at 30 stations. The first of these is Polgahawela, a small village with just 1,000 people. This service is truly a lifeline to those who live in the area. You'll see many people bringing their shopping and other goods on board too. I can't imagine it would be a pleasant walk. After around 20 minutes, we arrive at our first major stop. This is the town of Nakula Gama, where we can catch a glimpse of the line's primitive signalling system. It features physical tokens that must be exchanged before a train is allowed to proceed. We'll be stuck here for a few minutes while awaiting an oncoming express train. The drivers took advantage of this pause, deciding to walk off and get a cup of tea. The clever thing about the token system is that it doesn't need the higher priority train to stop. The tokens are skillfully exchanged while the train is at speed. Token in hand means permission to continue. As the drivers noticed me filming, they actually invited me to stand in the cab, and wow, it's fascinating. You can see the dashboard is identical to that found on a bus, and the similarities don't end there. The Railbus has a gear stick and pedals too. There's even a slot for where the steering wheel used to be. Anyway, we continue through rural Sri Lanka, serving more tiny villages en route. A lot of passengers get on or off at many of these stations, showing the Railbus is used for longer distance journeys and local hops alike. Eventually, we come into our next major station, this being Ghav. Here I was briefly invited into the antique signal box. I wish I could have spent more time in here to see how it all worked, though I was quickly sent back out because we'd soon be leaving. Until now, I've neglected to mention the ride quality of this Railbus. Sri Lankan railways are definitely not in great condition compared to many other countries. Combine this with the four-wheel design of the vehicles and you're in for a very rough ride. I was honestly surprised that parts of the train hadn't fallen off. We carry on to serve other villages, including Polgahawela. As the journey goes on, the train gets busier and busier. Those grab handles will certainly come in handy soon. By the way, despite this full journey being over 2 hours in length, there were no toilets on board. Make sure to go before boarding, or failing that, use facilities at one of the longer station stops. Like with all trains in Sri Lanka, the doors are manual and do not lock. This allows for incredible views such as this one. Just make sure you hold on, as unexpected bumps and lurches are very common. Our next station is Kuru Nigala, one of Sri Lanka's major cities and by far the largest place this train serves. From here we get very busy, with many passengers looking to travel to Polgahawela. With such little room available, some passengers even take to riding by the door, including me. And of course, something I really wasn't expecting to see on this Railbus was onboard catering. But somebody joined the train at Kuru Nigala selling various baked goods. I'm not sure if this was an official service, probably not, but it was quite cool to see. Now on to how much this trip costs. The Railbus is all third class seating, for which the fare on this route is 160 Sri Lankan rupees. That represents incredible value for money for a journey of this length, with shorter trips on the same train being considerably cheaper. Not long later, things start to look a little more developed, with various paved roads and modern buildings. And sure enough, we're on the approach to Polgahawela Junction, another key hub on the Sri Lankan railway network. This other route leads to tourist hotspots such as Kandy and Ella on the so-called main line, famed for its role in transporting the nation's tea exports. Finally, we arrive at Polgahawela station 5 minutes ahead of schedule. Overall, I really enjoyed my trip on the Railbus. It was well worth the 5 AM alarm to travel across the country to ride it. Not only that, but it's a great way of providing an economically viable rail service to small villages located next to the railway. But as always, let me know what you thought of the Sri Lankan Railbus. If you liked it, you must watch my video of another train based on the same concept, the much hated British Rail Pacer unit, by clicking up here now.